Biofriendly Podcast. It's the Biofriendly Podcast.
Live from Pasadena, it's the Biofriendly Podcast. Crowd goes wild.
Yes.
And by crowd, I mean Elise.
Elise goes wild.
There you go. She's going wild. Okay. Elise, does it look like the camera up there is recording on the... Yeah. Okay, wonderful. I always have to check. It's like when you think you locked the door before you go to bed at night, and you literally just did it.
Yeah.
And you walk away, and then your wife goes, "Did you lock the door?" And you're like,
Yeah.
"I did, but now I have to go check it."
That happens to
Questioning
me
me,
always.
All the time. Like, if anybody asks you right after you've done something, you're like, "Well, now I have to get out of bed and go make sure I lock the door." Even though I know I did it.
It is. Yeah, they're trying to raise fear, uncertainty, and doubt. Food. It's one of the...
Fear. I thought that was an acronym.
It is.
Oh.
That's an acronym for
uncertainty.
when you're buying and selling stocks.
Is it?
Yes, when you're buying and selling stocks, one of the goals of people who are shorting a stock or manipulating a stock is to instill what they call FUD or food. FUD.
Fear, uncertainty,
doubt. And I've always laughed about it because what's the definition of doubt?
Gwen Stefani. No,
Yeah.
that's no doubt.
That's
Sorry,
no doubt.
My bad.
I would say it's to have uncertainty.
Yes, it is.
So they're saying it's even though it's FUD, like fear, uncertainty, doubt. They're basically just repeating themselves. Fear, uncertainty, doubt.
Oh, there you go. Fear.
They
uncertainty,
could just say fear and doubt.
doubt.
Yeah.
So stock people don't come up with good phrases. That's what I think we've learned.
No,
from
but
this.
they come up with great phrases.
Great phrases.
I know, just that one. I never always. I always thought it was a bit redundant.
Yeah.
But that's all right. It works. I mean, that's the idea. So that's
So we're here to provide.
Our wives are trying to instill that in us. Whenever we lock the door, they're trying to say it's. Yeah. Did we start the podcast?
Oh yeah.
Officially?
We started.
Yeah.
We started the moment you started speaking.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
what an
look,
honor.
that's my cue.
See, I was trying to say to our Facebook livers and our YouTube livers that you're getting a free sneak peek right now, but no, you're not.
No.
You're
This is
watching what's going to be on international radio.
Because that's how we do the show. And I mean, I think a lot of people that listen, even though we embrace the phones ringing, the errors, the audio stuff, that's part of the show. I think people are like, no. They're adding that in for novelty.
Yeah, to make us think that
they're
it's
just
live.
trying to make us. They're throwing in like that natural, like they don't. It's just crazy in that studio. It actually is crazy.
It's insane.
It's insane. We at any moment, a FedEx guy could come in here and be like, "I have a pizza." We'd be like, "Why do you have a pizza?" And he'd be like, "I'm
Noel
working."
ordered a pizza
through FedEx, and he's like, "I'm working 2 jobs. It's been hard."
Noel said, "I want a pizza, and you better send it FedEx."
I want to FedEx you a pizza.
It's a little old. It's a little tired.
Yeah.
It's a little cold. Speaking of cold,
What?
this morning Jacob says, "Hey, who here's hot?" Because Jacob's always hot, and so then he turned the air down to 6 degrees, and now I'm sitting here live in the Biofriendly Podcast studio. Freezing my biscuits
Yeah,
off.
you see me. I'm over here.
I cannot
Guys,
believe you are an animal.
I didn't lower it that much. It was on like 73. I think it knocked it down a degree.
It's just like you to blame the system and not the guy.
Yeah, and he was talking about it might not even work.
It might not even work. He said it might not even work.
That's how I get out of trouble. I go, this is the building's work.
Right.
This isn't me. I didn't change the... Well, clearly it does work
I
because
guess
you
so.
guys are cold. I feel fantastic.
I
Only
believe
feel
you.
it in my left arm right here. I don't know.
It's gone.
Is that where you got your vaccine?
Yeah, no, I did.
Well, Elise, if you guys are freezing, you can absolutely wheel yourself over to the box and go.
No, I'd rather
Part
freeze.
of the fun of
Is
this
to give me
show
crap?
is to struggle and to fight through another difficult day with Jake.
And I want that to be a segment. Another difficult day with Jacob, and it's just an audio
Oh my
excerpt.
God, your
of something.
TikToks.
Oh yeah,
That's
right.
TikTok. Turning
difficult
down
day
the
with
AC.
Another difficult day. Actually, that's a good one. Is that you
See
go
that?
another difficult day with Jacob, and then
Part
it's like,
one.
guys, I'm gonna cool it off in here, and then it cuts to you both, and you're like,
In North Face jackets.
Yeah, exactly.
Brooke, I have a feeling, would walk in the door and go, "Oh no. And just leave." She'd be like, "I'm not working in this winter
Or she
wonderland."
Brooks, the lights being off.
Yeah, she hates cold. She's gonna be so upset when she gets in here.
I know. She's going to be
What
furious
have
with
you
me.
guys done?
She's going to be furious with me. I'm prepared. But anyway, hi guys. Hello.
Hi.
Another podcast. Here we go.
Well, for the world, this is
the world.
happening on a random Friday.
Yes, this is a random
released.
Friday in the near future.
Right. But
Yes.
but for us, it's back to back.
Back to back.
We
And
recorded yesterday and today because Noel's leaving town in June.
Couple weeks.
We got to be prepped.
yeah, exactly. And so for the people who are participating in the lives and getting the previews, you guys are getting a glimpse of some episodes in the upcoming weeks.
Yeah.
So yeah. So we're tackling some stuff that I think will still be relevant.
Yeah.
I'm trying not to pick things that are only specific to that day.
Well, we'll find out because this was pretty specific, and by the time it looks like it's already resolving.
It is resolving.
By the time this goes live,
but we gotta mention it. We gotta mention it because it was a big thing that it's one of those stories that came through, and I went, okay, that's interesting. But the more I dug into it, I was like, this is a pretty interesting story. So it's about the Colonial Pipeline.
yeah,
I didn't even know the name of it.
you didn't.
No. I just knew it was a pipeline on the East Coast.
Yeah.
Well, Elise, do you know about the Colonial Pipeline? Okay, so
I
here's...
don't even know what.
It's a pipeline that sends fuel to the East Coast, but I believe it actually
millions of gallons.
I believe it actually starts in Texas.
Texas.
Yeah.
It does. It's Texas. I actually have all that information here ready to go. But it's basically the long story short, and of course, Noel will be able to probably expand upon what I'm saying.
I hope so.
But I hope.
Hope I don't blow it.
You might blow it. But it's basically, so a couple weeks ago, I think this was pretty much at the start of May, hackers, and there was a hacker, his name was like Darkside.
It's actually a group.
It's a group.
It's
It's not a guy, it's a group.
Oh, Darkside's hilarious.
Is he?
I mean, they're not hilarious because they do horrible things, but they're kind of hilarious.
Yeah.
Because they have like a helpline. They have like customer service, so you can call in so that you can appropriately, talk to the right executive who's in charge of your account that's just been blackmailed.
Yeah.
So I'm not kidding.
Wow.
Like they're a Russian company.
Yeah.
And
They're a Russian organization.
I think that they actually organization, but they're basically they operate like a business. They have they give their technology to smaller hackers all around or help other smaller, smaller ransomware companies that want to make their money in the industry.
Really? In the ransomware industry?
They support them and then help to get the funds for them and to transfer the funds around and to even give technical support if your ransomware is not working properly.
Oh, wow.
and they
I'm gonna hit them up.
they've made tomorrow all of our files have been ransomed.
Elise has decided to work for Darkside.
This is so random, guys. Darkside has just told us that their stuff's been ransomed. Why did they pick us of all people? And Elise is like,
I have no idea.
it's so
They
weird.
come up rolling in a Rolls Royce.
They're not going to let us release any more Biofriendly podcasts until we pay them $1 million. That's it. Yeah.
But they represent all these different
I did not know that.
Yeah, they're not that they're fairly new, and actually I think they're actually closing down after this because it caused problems. Darkside were feeling kind of guilty.
Yeah,
I think that their whole thought was, look, we're gonna do this. We're gonna get some money out of the rich folks, out of these horrible companies, and it's gonna be really great, and we're gonna get it. And because of the advent of cryptocurrency, you can't stop them from doing it.
Yeah,
because they can just trade in Bitcoin, which nobody has
you
any way to
can't
stop.
get control of that.
The feds can't get in the way of it, knowing the way of it. They had $90 million apparently in crypto when they closed their doors.
Yeah.
Put away, including $5 million that they got from Colonial Pipeline. They paid the bribe. They paid the ransom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Isn't that wild?
It is so
but
wild.
But they have customer service. Like you call up and someone answers the phone and say, hi,
Darkside.
This is Darkside.
This is Ryan.
How can I help?
I mean, they're Russian, so we have to. So maybe this is Kevin.
This is Sasha.
This is Bob.
By the way, this is a cool Russian fact. I don't know if you knew this, but the name Alexander in Russian is Sasha.
Sasha. Yeah.
If your name is Alex or Alexander, you go by the name Sasha.
It's like if your name's Margaret, you go by Peggy.
Yeah. Is it really?
Swear to God.
In Russia?
No, everywhere.
Oh.
But it's like
Oh my God, that's crazy.
Are you messing with me?
No, this is a real thing.
It's a real thing.
Yes.
If your name is Margaret, you go by Peggy.
You go by Peggy.
I have never
Isn't
known
that
that
odd?
my whole life.
Yeah. Robert is Bob. William is Bill. You know?
Yeah, I knew those.
And those are a
but
little closer.
Margaret, those are close.
But
those are close.
like Jonathan is Jack.
Yes, or John.
Yeah, or John, but like like Jack doesn't come from Jackstifer. Like
Okay, you just came up with the best Zoomer Alpha generation name ever, Jackstifer. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Jackstifer.
Jackson Christopher Alexander.
I can see that little hip kid right now already.
But he answered. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
So I was going to say, Alex, I knew a guy for years, and I was working with him, and his emails would say Alexander on it, and then I got a phone call, and they were like, well, you get together with Sasha, and I was like, why do we keep talking about this Sasha? And then that's when I learned. But anyway, back to the Russian thing. Tech support. It's
support.
Sasha.
So
This is Dark Side. Thank you. Sasha here.
Randall from Dark Side. I am here to give customer service to help you because it looked like you have stopped. We broke our computer.
Oh, I did. Keep going. Keep
vamping. This is why you watch live, because
Yeah.
you can see that Jacob has to now stop in the middle of what he's doing to reset the whole system.
Yeah,
because we break it all the time.
Yeah, we break it all the time.
We're
too loud.
This is Ken from the Russia and the Dark Side, and they want you to help you today to get your ransom paid fast and get everything turned back on, so we can
Let's keep it going, zippy,
fuel
baby.
go to East Coast.
So that's what happened. Dark Side, which I knew nothing about, and I'm so glad that you knew all that, because I didn't really have the story or history of Dark Side. But the best bullet point kind of summation is that they took control of this pipeline, which transports millions of gallons of fuel, gas, oil, all that stuff, all across the East Coast. They took control of it to get money, but their heart was not political, and it was not to negatively affect the lives of people. That was not the goal. They were like,
in fact, they released a statement. This is how corporate they are. They released a statement, apologizing.
Dark Side is sorry.
We're going to have to reevaluate the groups we work with, because we feel like this was. We're going to reevaluate the groups that we decide to work with. This is CEO Stan, and we're not going to continue to do this. We're going to change and be more on top of it.
Yeah. So the cyber attack forced the company to shut down 5,500 miles of pipeline, triggering widespread fuel shortages in the Southeast and panic buying. Yeah. That's what happened, right?
Well, so there was a lot of. It's the toilet paper of oil.
I'm so glad you said that, because during my research on this topic, I found an article on Forbes, and I really like this writer. Yeah. I loved the way he handled this whole thing. I think he'd be like a really good Biofriendly podcast correspondent.
Let's have him on the show.
His name is Michael Lynch, and he is the senior contributor at Forbes on energy.
Yeah.
And just
let's have him on the show.
His tone, I've got to reach out to this guy. He starts out by saying, an old economist joke goes, if my neighbor loses his or her job, it's a recession. If I lose my job, it's a depression. My corollary would be, if my neighbor can't get gas, it's a disruption. If I can't get gas, it's a crisis. Right. So he said reports of the gasoline stations on the East Coast running dry because of the hacking certainly suggests we're getting close to the tipping point in the crisis stage, at least from the point of view of the consumers.
Right.
Panic buying is nothing new, and he's put think toilet paper, as we all learned, that when the world shuts down, the first thing people buy is...
I gotta wipe my...
patootie.
Right.
Exactly. And that, I think...
Unless you're a lady, then you have that's all wiping every time you go to the bathroom.
Everything. And so you have to remember, video game designers and...
Guys should wipe every time, I'm realizing.
You sure?
No. Well, I'm thinking about this, actually, as I break this down scientifically.
Okay, this is going to get graphic, I think.
This is going to get graphic.
Yeah.
Whoopi Goldberg used to call it the quarter spot.
Yeah. It's the drop.
Yeah.
It's the drop.
I think the guys should consider.
Look, it's either going to be about wringing out the towel, or it's gonna be about dabbing it with some paper towel. So you got choices to make. Okay, you got options. You got to make decisions, and
so all of the young people watching the show,
you got to wring out the paper towel. So you, look, there's decisions you got to make on the speed of your life, and some people are going to choose, I'll wring out the towel.
God.
So. That's enough of a safe G.
Wring out the towel.
That's enough of a G-rated version of that. All right, I'm going to continue on. I was going to say that if
it's so graphic.
Is it? Do I have to beat myself for a minute straight? So what I was going to say is all film producers and game producers know that going forward, if there's any apocalypse game, it has to begin with there being no toilet paper. Because that's what they got wrong.
It's the beginning. Yeah.
If you see Independence Day now, the first thing that happens is there's no more toilet paper, and that's how you know you're in a global crisis.
Right.
Yeah, that's
World
what we
War
learned.
Z.
Yeah, World War Z. Toilet paper's gone.
Yeah.
World War TP. That's the movie I want to see. Where all the TV's gone, and Brad Pitt's like, I need to wipe. Okay.
And then a bunch of people are climbing over the wall.
Just to get
Trying to get the toilet paper.
which is
Exactly.
defended by a wall. But I mean,
Right.
like they've got they've
The
got
quilted factory.
But the reason
ballistic missiles. Sorry.
ballistic missiles.
Like sitting on top of the wall, just literally firing.
I don't want to cut off your imagination here.
I'm
This
sorry.
is great.
Go
I
ahead.
love it. No,
it's
please.
too far. I was thinking you install tanks on top of the wall and just have them point down so they do not take my toilet paper.
This is why I love this show.
Yeah.
You can't stifle creativity on the Biofriendly podcast.
you cannot.
Okay. But I liked this guy because he finishes off this thing and he says, all the panic buying is nothing new. Think toilet paper. It cannot be deterred, and the timing of the interruption is bad, coming just before the summer driving season. But the government should be measured in its response, especially when it comes to new legislation. He was basically saying, and he goes on this whole thing about, he's like, let's not turn this into some bananas thing that, this isn't something that needs to be made into like we have to change all policy, disrupt everything. This was a very specific thing that happened, and I just love the way that he tackled this story.
The policies exist.
Yes, they exist.
It's just that they're being ignored, right?
Yeah.
So like because they're voluntary,
Yeah.
but you don't need to. It's good business practice. So like how now every time you try, like you get into Facebook or Instagram or whatever, and it says two-factor.
Yeah,
two-factor authentication required.
Yeah.
Right. Well, that's how you stop from Facebook being ransomware.
Yeah.
Right. Is they set things up so that you have to verify that it's in fact you getting in.
Yeah.
Right. And every company that's got the whole server system should have a two-factor system in place, or a type in this code, so that you can before you get into your accounts or whatever.
Yeah.
And it requires some basic training and then some testing. Like there's actually services out there that do it, that'll test your company and show you how easily, Randall
from
that's
Dark-
the same guy. I was trying to pick which person we're talking.
Ken, Randall, Sasha,
and then the boss is Stan.
Okay,
right.
yeah.
So but like Randall, who at Darkside, like it's Darkside, they of course do this testing, so they don't get ransom attacked. So they'll say in the back, "Oh no, look at we got the test," and Randall he clicked on the link from the Nigerian prince, and now
the whole system is compromised. We have to blow it
and
up.
so they shoot him.
Yeah.
That's how they handle the problem.
Right.
But here you just train them. You just teach them like, okay, so now what you did there was wrong. And they got to start, like, they've got to just kind of start doing this.
Yeah.
And if we spend a bunch of money and put a bunch of regulation in to make people do it, I think it's a bit of an overkill.
That's what he's saying.
Yeah.
And this is cool that you, as knowledgeable as you are, I want to know if you knew this already. He said, few are probably aware that the U.S. created the Northeast Home Heating Oil Reserve in 2000. Holding 1 million barrels of ultra-low sulfur diesel fuel to cope with potential regional shortages of that crucial fuel. This was largely in response to two specific stimuli: weather-related disruptions of deliveries, and which was at the time in 2000 the freezing of the Connecticut River, but also the outsized importance of the Northeast voters, specifically New Hampshire presidential primary voters. So the reserve has never been used.
Yeah.
There's literally all of this stuff that's been stored and saved away for a crisis.
Right.
And they spend about $10 million a year to contribute to it to make sure we're going to be okay. We're going to be okay.
Yeah, well, this is, I mean, we're gonna hear in another 10 years about whatever the solution was for Texas.
Yeah.
Because this is the same thing. It's when you have the deep freeze and people can't get warm.
Yeah.
They go, I never want that to happen again.
Right.
And so then
they're going to do stuff to make sure.
That's one of the reasons you have a government.
Yeah. So it says, where was I?
But I did not know that. That's interesting.
Yeah,
That's
isn't
really
that interesting?
Yeah.
So here's that article that I was going to say, which you already said. U.S. fuel pipeline hackers didn't mean to create problems. I love that. Sorry, guys. So this is a kind of ransomware attack that we've really never experienced in this country before. And I think that it did point a light on, so that pipeline does provide 45% of the East Coast energy. And I think that's the one thing they were saying, okay, that is something that needs to be reevaluated. That's a lot for one thing to provide, because if it goes down, this is why we have the problems, or this is why we might have to dig into the shortages.
Well, and this is, and I do not want to get too political in the middle of this because there's a lot of reasons why people will scream. But this is this is why you get such a big battle on things like the Keystone Pipeline. Right. Because and that would provide another source of fuel from Canada, essentially, right? From up north. And so that's that, and there were absolutely problems with that, and I'm not going to. You can totally debate me, and I'll be fine to get slammed on why we should be putting things in other people's property and going over other people. I understand. I understand all that.
Yeah.
But this is the argument that is made: is that you need to have redundancy. You need to have lots of these pipelines all over the place because we can't move them in trucks at the same speed. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's an impossible thing to try to do. You put it in a pipeline, you just shoot it. It just goes.
It just goes.
And it's far more effective, far more efficient, and it goes a lot faster.
Yeah.
But this also, I think, brings to light an environmental point, which is look at how much we are still dependent on oil.
Yes.
I mean, we are. And then people often talk about, well, we just got to switch. We just got to turn off. Well, if you just switched and turned it off, this is what would happen. This is what would happen. People would freeze, and people would not be able to move.
You can't fly. You can't drive. You can't. I mean, all the fuel ends.
And this is where we talk about the infrastructure issue. Now, I'm not saying it's impossible to do. I'm not saying we can't get on this and get it moving and take it seriously. We have to take it seriously. We have to do it fast.
Yeah.
But this is what we're up against.
Yeah. This is what we're up against.
That this is a deeply embedded for over 100 years.
Yes. Yeah.
Infrastructure that exists for how we deal with energy and
how the world works.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, it's just something to take note of and to see that, like, look, whether we want to or not, whether we like it or not, if you just turn it off, this is what happens.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we just got we've got to keep working hard, but we got to think logically and think about what's the best way to do this.
Yeah, it goes back to that, and we've seen this time and time again. Is that the extremist view of what it's this way or nothing at all? It's just never going to work. Progress is never going to get anywhere if we aren't making adjustments as we go and figuring out a way to solve it. Right. Mm-hmm. I'm going to read the last thing that he said, and again, the reason why I like this guy, Michael Lynch. So he says at the very end, summation, this is not to argue that nothing whatsoever should be done, but rather to suggest Congress measure twice, cut once, instead of leaping together headlines and photo ops. See, I love this guy. So great.
He's so right.
The oil delivery system has a number of redundancies that will minimize the impact of the shutdown in duration and extent so that in 2 weeks, prices will almost certainly return to normal. So he's saying we're going to steady back. You've seen your gas prices hike. You've seen everything go up. It's going to go back.
Some of that is also, let's not kid ourselves. This happens every time. If there's a service of a refinery, if there's any disruption whatsoever, oil companies take advantage and they jack up the price and they say, hey, it's not our fault.
Not our problem.
We had to upgrade the refinery because you and your taxes and your clean air. Right. I mean, that's what they do. Right. So we're just something we have to deal with as customers, that they can be difficult.
Little difficult
at
to
times.
Yes.
Trying to make their money, trying to make their profits.
Yeah. I agree. So it says the public's panic buying makes the situation worse, but that's a very difficult thing to control. Congressional panic rulemaking hopefully will be easier to deter. So he's just basically saying, he goes into the ways that we could address this, which is kind of what you covered
this
anyway.
Feels a little bit. I'm glad he said that, because you look at the Capitol Police situation.
Yeah.
Right, and this is, I think, another example of the government just reacting quickly and then making a decision that was probably the wrong one, right?
Yeah.
So, the Capitol was attacked and it was awful. It was
absolutely.
It was awful. It was like we all watched in horror, right? Yeah. And should not have happened. But the evaluation of it, the data showed that they just didn't take threats seriously. They didn't prepare properly. They weren't wearing the riot gear they should have been wearing. They didn't have enough police officers, which they did have. Right. They messed up.
Yeah.
They messed up.
Yeah.
Right. And then after messing up, they didn't try so hard as they could have, because they were overwhelmed to stop people from getting in. They did try. Don't get me wrong, and they were brilliant. The people who were there did a great job of keeping everybody in there alive and safe for the most part.
Right.
So I don't want to be too. I'm not trying to criticize anything. It's just the situation is what it was, right?
Yeah.
But it could have been handled had things been taken a little more seriously and had it been handled differently, right?
Yeah.
The response, though, by our government was, well, they need $2 billion more dollars.
Yeah. Right.
And
Right.
then in a time of and again, I don't want to argue into defunding the police or any
right.
because that's not what our show's about.
Right.
But that is the opposite of defund. That's literally the exact opposite of that.
Yeah.
And in a situation where it probably wasn't actually necessary, it was just a knee-jerk reaction to something that horrified us all socially because it wasn't handled properly.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
I don't think we need to do that with now oil and gas and have a money grab for oil and gas to go,
I agree.
bonkers and bananas on this or their security. Just follow the protocols. Stop being dumb.
Yeah, this is just like what we were talking about before with the you mentioned it, Texas. The protocols in place and this whole scenario, this whole story really was about cybersecurity more than anything, more than the actual, that's what they have to readdress is that there's stuff in place that needs to be fixed. But, it'll cause people to, if we can calm down and go, all right, well, what was the issue? This isn't about changing the legislation. This isn't about giving more money to oil and gas. This isn't about stripping it away and completely shutting off the switch. This is about a balanced decision about, okay, there's organized groups that felt bad about it. So we might not hear from DarkSide again, but we might hear from another cyber attack. Cyber attacks are probably, it's something that we talked about in the over the past 2 decades as like subjects for action movies,
right.
But it's getting to be now a really normal, subtle thing because it's so easy to get to people.
It is. Although what's interesting is crypto. Currency, right? The whole foundation of cryptocurrency is built on blockchain technology, which is something we hear a lot about. The idea of blockchain technology is you think about a bunch of chain links. Making a big web. Like if you made a gigantic spider web out of just millions and millions of chain links from like a chain link fence, right?
Yeah.
So you can then cut off whole portions of it by removing one link. You can take off an entire infected area.
Oh, wow.
Right? So that's kind of the idea. It's like you can cut off a link and then protect the whole system. And then also the whole system though is touching. So if most of the system sees that some data is one thing, then even though there's a few pieces of data that look like they're corrupted or different, they won't affect the system because the rest of the system will then come in and correct it.
Oh, wow.
Right? And so that's one of the reasons that cryptocurrency works. One of the reasons people are so excited about cryptocurrency is because it is what it is.
Yeah.
You know that it's secure and it transfers very quickly.
Yeah.
So like cryptocurrencies like Ethereum or Cardano or some of these other ones, they're actually less currencies and more systems of transferring data or agreeing on contracts or sending information back and forth. So, I mean, I think it's just, I think that's probably kind of the future of where things go is that people find ways to build either on top of the systems that exist, like Ethereum and Cardano or whatever, or create new systems that are using the same concept to kind of spread out the data so that it's more difficult to hack and destroy.
It's so interesting because it is one of those things that I don't quite understand. And I know this episode isn't about cryptocurrency, but we should get into that at some point in time because I know there was the comment that was like, from Elon Musk about it being bad for the environment, but that wasn't necessarily true.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, it's making a crypto coin is it uses a ton of energy. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
But if you compare what it costs to make one Bitcoin versus what it costs to hire a bank full of people. Yeah. And people in buildings and on phones and everything else start doing what they're doing. It's significantly less. I mean, the emissions impact is way less. And you have it's like what Holly talked about a few weeks ago on the Microsoft episode, that if you have all of those emissions contained in one place, if all of it is happening in one area, then you can improve the way that one area does what it's doing to then make everything a lot cleaner. Yeah. So like it's getting to the point now where it's really difficult to mine Bitcoin in particular, right? Sure. It's so expensive. The computing power you need is pretty absurd. Yeah. And the companies that do it are now like publicly exchanged like stocks. Like they're serious big companies. And they all commit to like they're all green companies. They're all committed to being green, and most of them already get their energy from renewable sources from hydro. A lot, like in Canada, a lot of them get from hydro or wind.
Yeah.
And so that's become a thing. And in China, it was not the case. Although China one of the reasons there's a crash now is because even China decided, hey, if we're going to do this, we should do it better.
Wow.
So even China was shutting down crypto farms until they could get them cleaner. So it's like there's just it's a new industry with very young people who are very concerned about it.
Yeah.
So there's just a lot more attention paid to how can we make it greener. So yes, it does require a lot of energy, but it's not. No. And currencies like Ethereum they're moving to what they call a proof of stake method. Yeah. Which is a whole different way of doing it. Like when you're doing a proof of stake, you don't have to have the incredibly expensive equipment to do it. What you have to have is the Ethereum. If you have some, you can make more from it. That's the way. Then they're doing that because it's way more energy efficient. Yeah. You need far less computing power to then create it. You use essentially, you're using Ethereum to create Ethereum is the idea. Yeah. Yeah.
I was responding specifically to when I heard that, and there was about the energy thing. But you know that messaging is probably being spearheaded by Bank of America, or you know what I mean, or Citibank. It's like if you were to start to criticize, you'd look at these massive global Deutsche Bank, like these groups that have been around, the Federal Reserve, these companies that are huge and have so much operating costs behind printing, minting money, the whole process, the things that are in place of checking and savings, and you go, the whole system is so huge. It's not that much different than the infrastructure that's in place for oil and gas and whatnot. So it's a big system.
It's going to be really, really difficult. And this is something that those of us who are under the age of 50 need to kind of understand is that there is a whole generation of people who built their existence on an old system. Yeah. And they're still powerful. They're still alive. They still have money in this. They still have an interest in this, and they are not interested in it going away. Certainly not so fast that they can't change the way they do things before they go for themselves and their kids and whatever else, right? Yeah. So the old banking system, it's going to go away because it's not as good. Yeah. It will definitely disappear, and it'll get replaced by whatever wins out in these crypto wars. Yeah. Or whatever many things might win out, right? And energy is going to be replaced by something greener and something better, right? Yeah. Our job is, I think, to help encourage
it to be the good,
the
choice.
Most sustainable, like the best option of all of them, right? Yeah. And to encourage people to support that. But it's not, we got to push as hard as we can and as fast as we can and do everything we can personally to make a difference. Yeah. But you can't be frustrated when you see a pushback, because that's how people have different interests and people have what they're used to. And it's going to take a minute for that to go, and some of it's going to go just as time passes and they move on to the next adventure. Yes. And I'm not saying give up. I'm not saying we stop. I'm not saying we're wrong. I'm not saying any of these things. I'm just saying that take a breath. Yeah. Let's not go screaming at everybody, yelling at everybody. Let's keep doing the little things we can do, and let's keep working on it.
Like we say, step one, chill out and never believe. So those two things.
Those
two things together. Never believe and chill out.
Solve the problem right there.
No, this is one of those shows that I'm kind of glad. This is why we embrace the tangents. So we begun on the Colonial Pipeline and cyber attacks and what that means, but really this is about transitioning to new systems.
It is. Yeah.
And what does that mean for the old guard and the new guard, and how do we come together? How do we work together on this? Yeah. I watched this fascinating show that's sometimes great and sometimes not so great called American Gods. And it's not for kids. It's not at all. Please don't check it out. Just grown-ups. But it is this concept. It's a Neil Gaiman graphic novel that was converted to a series. And it's just this interesting idea of the old gods, as in like the belief systems from Norse to Greek to all those belief systems, to the modern quote-unquote gods of...
I think it's just a novel, by the way.
It's just a novel, not a graphic novel. It's a book of the modern day and age digital, digital space, media, television, radio, and these figures and how they war with one another. And so it's a very interesting symbol of kind of where we are. We've got these factions of the old and the factions of the new. And a lot of times the instinct is war. And I just feel like that's not the way to go. We got to figure out a way to come together.
I mean, and that's what's happening. And you could see it. You could see that war playing out on social media.
You can.
Right?
Yeah,
you see what's happening, and you see young people who want the world to be what it's going to be.
Yes.
And then you see people who are a little older who are uncomfortable with that. Yeah. And that has been the problem forever.
Yeah.
That has always been what it is. Yeah. It feels bigger because the advancement has been so fast recently. Yeah. So it feels like the chasm is huge because of the speed of technology.
Yeah.
But guess what, young people? It's speeding up.
Yeah.
So when you're older and you're used to your crypto and you're used to the way you use your phones and used to everything else, the young people are going to be saying, well, why can't we get the brain the brain chip immediately into everybody? Because if we all had it, we'd be able, and they're going to be demanding what kind of idiot doesn't want to have a chip in their brain or something. It'll be something as absurd as that to you, and you'll be like, I don't want this in my brain. I can use my phone. Yeah. What's wrong with you, rotten kids?
Yeah,
and that's just how it goes. Yeah, right. And then eventually, as time goes by and people get comfortable with things, they adopt them.
Yeah. It's true. It's true. And I mean, it doesn't matter anyway, because if you've been following the news, the aliens are here and we're talking about it anyway. I was on the drive-in this morning. They were talking about how it's UAPs, which is the unidentified aerial phenomenon. And that's going to be coming out. So then once the aliens get here.
It feels like DUI to DWI.
I know,
Remember when
it?
they changed? They changed a letter to make it new
they
for some reason?
They want us to jump from UFO to UAP. I'm like, I'm not ready for this. I got to stick with the UFO.
UAP? I'm thinking it's like something like a huge organization.
Yeah, right. It sounds like a form that I have to fill out. Should you fill out your UAPs? Okay, get back in line.
Convention.
Yeah, convention. Oh, are you attending the UAPs this year? So anyway, I was just saying, once the aliens get here, they'll figure it all out. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, just kidding. No, it's interesting, and it'll be. It's. My brother made an interesting point when we were talking about this the other day. He was saying that it's highly unlikely that these UAPs have anything in, like they're probably unmanned.
Yeah.
Like these are probably like
these
probes.
are their drones.
Yeah,
they're just flying,
they're
cruising
checking
down.
out to see what the deal is here.
And they're going,
because
all right.
It takes some time to travel all the way here. Like you take. I think he was saying at like a quarter of the speed of light, you could cover the whole galaxy in about 1 million years.
Yeah. So it's
you gotta
taking them a while to get here.
Send them in all directions and kind of look everything out and see where you got to go.
They're just now getting here. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, so guys, that's the topic. That's what we covered. Was there anything else about the pipeline that I didn't hit on? I kind of covered it, right?
I think we did enough for people to be satisfied.
They're satisfied. And we talked about crypto, which I think there's a lot of people who are like, cool, because that blockchain description really helped me.
Oh, good.
Get it? Yeah. Because I mean, it's one of those subjects that literally I pretend to listen.
Yeah.
But my brain goes, I don't know.
That was literally me the whole time. I'm like,
I know it is. I have all these friends we have a little group chat, and so many of them are into cryptocurrency. And once it starts going, my eyes just glaze over because they just start talking about all these different ones, and I'm going, I'm not. I'm the old guard. I'm the old guard that's like, I have $1.53 in my pocket, and I know how that works.
Right.
I don't know what you're saying.
I don't know about crypto
or
any vocabulary words.
I know, but he did such a good job of describing the blockchain, so I appreciate it. I hope people gain something from that. Yeah. But that's it, guys. So we are your beacon of light in a gloomy environment.
Carefully avoiding neonicotinoids.
We are the Siegfried and Roy and Meryl Streep of podcasts.
This show is a joke.
Never believe.
Is that really one of them?
Yes.
We say never believe?
We say never believe.
We always say never believe.
Should we take it off? Should we take it off?
We still say never believe?
We still say never believe.
Step 1. Train your animals.
Yes.
That's
not
it.
Become hackers.
Step 1, chill out.
There he goes. That step 2 is train your animals, Noel. And then this is the new one, which is spilling the teeth since 2019.
Yeah.
Spilling the teeth.
It's already there, right? I'm there. Okay, spilling the teeth since 2019.
Quails.
Great one. Great. No, that's it. So we'll see you next time. Thanks for joining us. For those of you who tuned in live, I hope you enjoyed watching the show live.
Thank you for joining us.
And we'll see you next time in the Biofriendly podcast. So cheerio.
Bye.
There she goes.
I should have waited today.
It's the Biofriendly Podcast. It's the Biofriendly Podcast.